of the revived series dealt with the frustration those of us dwelling in urban areas have to contend with in the form of what seems to be an unending traffic congestion. In this story, commuters of what was a second Earth set millennia in the future literally spent much of their lives in contraptions that looked like a cross between a flying minivan and a cramped compartment where it could literally take years just to travel a few miles. Tucked away between that amusing tidbit and a complete singing of the old rugged cross that was rendered with such seriousness that one could see tears in the eyes of the characters, was another narrative detail that just jumped out at the viewer in tune with where science and philosophy might be headed if concerned people of common sense don't soon put a stop to it. Though the geriatric lesbian couple was shocking enough, their risque union seemed outdated and quaint in comparison to that between two other commuters the doctor came across. For one of their vehicles was a regular-looking human woman who was married to an individual half human and half feline in his physiology. As unsettling as that was, viewers were in for an even bigger surprise when the husband beams with pride to the wife and asks her to let the doctor see the babies. The doting mother returns with kittens that sound like they are meowing, "Mama." This scene alone served as a startling warning to the future we might have to confront if a growing number in the transhumanist movement have their way. For those whose news diet consists primarily of what gutter Lindsay Lohan puked in the night before, transhumanism is the movement hypothesizing that human beings must move beyond the limitations inherent to our physiology if we are to proceed to the next stage in our development as a species. Transgenics would be a subset of this movement, believing this goal is best accomplished by incorporating characteristics of other organisms into the human genome by essentially engineering an amalgamation on the molecular level of two distinct species. Proponents of this ontological melding will respond that the family in this Doctor Who episode was depicted in such a positive light that transhumanism could easily be seen as a benefit or as at least ethically neutral. However, despite dancing gingerly around the topic in one episode, producers were more blatant in their concerns in the next. In the episode Daleks in Manhattan, the Doctor and rebound companion Martha Jones travel to the Big Apple of the Depression era. Here, they encounter a bit of a mystery intertwining missing transients from a Central Park Hooverville and the construction of the Empire State Building. From that point forward, the story begins to parallel events and developments here in our own time more than most of us would be willing to admit. The cult of Skaro, think the Dalek version of the Freemasons or Illuminati, in that it has been alluded to that this group exists above and beyond the normal authorities of this species in order to facilitate long-term reflection regarding galactic domination, co-ops the construction of the Empire State Building to use as a genetics research facility. As part of their experiments, the Daleks kidnap the nearby homeless and meld the dim-witted among the captives with porcine DNA to create a hybrid slave race similar in appearance to Jabba the Hutt's Gamorrean guards in Return of the Jedi, or the things that ran Bespin's carbonite freezing chamber in The Empire Strikes Back. Eventually, the Doctor stumbles upon these pigmen. Interestingly, the pigmen are told by their Dalek overseers to take the Doctor and the captives of higher intelligence to the Transgenic Laboratory. While one may come across science fiction stories where some lunatic tries to create some kind of abomination by fusing together disparate species, seldom has one heard the word transgenic bantered about that freely. Viewers then learn that the pigmen are not an end in themselves, but rather tests to work the kinks out so that the Daleks might merge with human victims, since it has been concluded that such a step is necessary to bring about the next stage in Dalek evolution. From the process emerges a cycloptic monstrosity that even the other Daleks turn against, as the result was anathema even to their worldview of destruction and conquest, summarized by their Nazi-esque catchphrase of "Exterminate! Exterminate!" All well and good for a Friday night's entertainment, but what does this have to do with real life, the unsuspecting might ask? Quite a bit, actually. For starters, along the fringes, one hears accounts of individuals abducted by non-human entities, the origins of which is not relevant to this line of argumentation, as one band of researchers sympathetic to this reality claim such beings are biological, hailing from elsewhere in the universe, while another claims these beings are actually non-corporeal, or the offspring of the biological and the non-corporeal, for the purposes of amalgamating distinct orders of life. And even if one does not buy into speculation regarding intelligent life from life beyond our own, one has to bury one's head deep in the sand to avoid talk these days about proposals to join man and animal on a genetic level. Not long ago, one could easily dismiss such conjecturing as the hyperactive imagination of those who have spent too many hours watching the Sci-Fi Channel. Now, though, one sees an increasing number of credentialed scientists with the backing of industry, academia, and government that can actually ruin innocent human lives, openly discussing these kinds of experiments that will potentially result in hybrid entities such as mice with physiologically human brains and human beings with the wings of birds. Used to be, one would imagine the likes of Dr. Frankenstein prowling around in some dank laboratory or at some ultra-secret government facility. However, now such advocates of deliberate biological deviancy proudly herald their position and hold conferences at prestigious universities where they act like you are the sicko if you don't have a smile plastered across your face about the plans for a generation of intentionally disfigured children. Now one doesn't even have to turn to obtuse scientific journals printed in exceedingly minuscule typeface, read only by a handful of eggheads that have not seen a hairbrush in years. One only needs access to a mainstream newspaper. According to the Washington Post, in a June 24, 2007 piece titled "Making Manimals" by Slate.com correspondent William Salitan, at the moment, most efforts at joining human and animal DNA are reasonably modest, such as transplanting baboon hearts and pig valves into human subjects in order to keep them alive. However, it would not take too much effort beyond what is possible now to dramatically expand the scope of these endeavors. Salitan writes, quote, "To make humanized animals really creepy, you'd have to do several things. You increase the ratio of human to animal DNA. You transplant human cells that spread throughout the body. You do it early in embryonic development so the human cells would shape the animal's architecture, not just blend in. You grow the embryo to maturity, and you start messing with the brain. We're doing all of these things." End quote. Though the author will admit to the general public what is going on, instead of condemning